वेडा आहे ना? वेडा आहे? कापूस सारखं लागतंय ना?
गुड मॉर्निंग मॅम.
सोडू शकत नाही खाली कचरा घेऊन जा सोबत.
अगं लागी थंड आहे ना?
नाही बसून खा ना
जरा. अगं ते ह्या दोघांमध्ये गं तिला दिलं नाही म्हणून एवढी ओरडत होती ना दोघांवरती.
हा काकी जाऊ तिचा आवाज म्हटलं अहो काकीने नेली तिला हे आणलं काय काकी.
अगं कधी चांगलंय ते टाकायचं नाही का दिवाळीसाठी आम्ही गेलो ना जेव्हा.
बरं आहे हे कसं म्हणजे आपण चेंज नाही करू शकत ना. लागलं हे स्माइली टीचर्सने दिलं.
मॅम ते ठेवतात त्याचा असा बंडल आहे.
हा
कोण
थोडंसं हे होतात काय म्हणतात त्याला
थोडं हे होतं ना याला तर लगेच encourage.
अरे याला भेटलं अरे मला पण मग ते बरोबर तुझं लेक्चर आहे का
आहे आता थोडं. Good afternoon, students. All of you there.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Sorry for the delay, students. There was some emergency work. Shall we start with the lecture? Yes, everyone, all of you are there.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yes.
Students, every Tuesday you have this NSM practicals at 7:30. Yes, students.
Ma'am, it's from 3:30 to 6, but ma'am has rescheduled it.
But every Tuesday you have it at have it in the morning only, na now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so in the last lecture we have started with functions. Yes, students. Which program we have seen last time? Can anybody will tell me?
Sorry, ma'am.
Which program we have seen last time?
Ma'am, we were seeing about that uh, functions and that wala.
Functions
How to
wala.
write functions out of the class.
Ma'am, using
Which
scope
program we have?
resolution operator, we were using components of private in external functions.
Have we done nesting of member functions program largest wala?
Yes, ma'am,
Using
done, ma'am.
largest
No, ma'am.
function.
Largest of two number using that, na?
Ah, yes.
Yes, ma'am, we have done that.
Okay. So now we will see how to use private member functions. We will see that. Actually, first we will understand this concept. Now, this is a concept. Now, this concept also I am teaching you with the program only. See, as I have told you, I am not using any PPTs or NPTs or PPTs or any other material to discuss the topic, because theory whatever you have, that is with respect to program only. So I will write a program, whether it is means whether it is right, wrong, whatever it is, but I will explain the concept with the program only. So you please note down whatever the programs I am giving you, or you just copy that program so that you can afterwards try it out. Okay, don't try it during your lectures. And certain programs I'll tell you, if it is a practical program, that I'll tell you. This I have already informed you. Okay, so today now after learning about the member functions, like we have seen how to declare a function inside the class also, and we have also seen how to define that function outside the class, how to write the function body inside the class also, and how to write function body outside the class. I hope all of you are clear with that. Yes, students.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we will be discussing about what happens if suppose we are trying to use the private member functions. Till now, whatever the examples we have seen, what we have done, we have, like suppose I have written a class sample, and then we have declared certain variables like int m or int n, whatever it is. Now when I am declaring this variable like this, what you are saying, this variable is private? Yes or no? No,
Yes, ma'am.
students. And then in public, we have seen we are doing a function, we are declaring a function. So suppose if I have a function called as void, just for,
Ma'am,
just
we
an
can't
example,
see typing, ma'am. The screen is freezed for us.
screen is freezed.
No,
Yes,
ma'am, it's
ma'am. Now, ma'am, it
No,
got refreshed.
Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Void get data, I have declared one function, and suppose I have one more function, void put data. So just one simple example I am writing. Okay. Now, and then after that, what we do? What we do, students? Suppose if this is only this much only I want in the class, I will just close the class. Okay. Now what I have to do, if suppose I wanted to write the functions outside, I have to define the functions outside the class. So what will I write?
void get
Void followed by?
scope resolution operator.
No. Anyone else? After void, what we write?
Return type class name.
Return
Class
type.
name.
सी रिटर्न टाइप मतलब क्या? रिटर्न टाइप मतलब क्या? ये रिटर्न टाइप है void. तो void मैंने ऑलरेडी लिख लिया. तो अभी आफ्टर दैट व्हाट आई विल राइट? द क्लास
Class
नेम.
name.
Yes. So what is your class name? Sample. Then the scope resolution operator and then your function get data. Okay. This way you will write. So suppose in get data I am just asking user to enter some value C in M. Now I am not writing a C out statement. I will ask the user to enter like this. I will do. Okay. And then I can write a put data method to display it. Wait, sample, scope resolution, and then put data. What will I
Hello,
do
ma'am.
in put data? Yes, Kev, what
Ma'am,
happened?
one doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, that int m is in private now. So the when the users enters the data, how will it access the private wala thing?
We will see now. This I have explained you. We will see. अगर वो access नहीं है, तो it will give us the error ना. We will see if we are getting any error. Now in the main function, what should we do first to access the class? How we are accessing the class from main? I want the answer from someone
Object.
else. By creating the object of the class. Yes. So how you will create the object? You have to write the class name followed by a variable, that is the variable of your class, or that is the object of your class. And then I can call the methods get data and I can call put data. Is this correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
I'll just run and I'll see if it is working. Now I am entered a particular value and I am getting that value. Okay, did you get the answer for your question?
Yes, ma'am.
See why it is able to access the value, because m, where you are using that m? Inside the function, and that function is public and it is a member of a class. See, if a function is declared as public and if it is a member of a class, that means what? That function can have access to all the variables of that class. Are you getting
Okay, ma'am.
clear?
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Yes, everyone. If you have this doubt, like if int m, if I have declared it as private, how can I access it outside the class? But see what happens. You have declared get data and put data, these two functions, as public. So that means that they are public, means they are accessible outside the class, right? And since they are the member of the class, that means whatever you have inside the class, किधर भी लिखा है, like whether you have written anything in public or whether you have written anything in private, that will be accessible to all the members of the class. Okay, so यहाँ पे मैंने int n भी लिखा, तो n will also be accessible to get data also and put data also. If I'll write inside this public section also, if I'll declare any other variable, that will also be accessible, right? So what does it mean? Whatever the variables you have declared inside the class, that all will be accessible to the public functions of the class. I hope this is clear to everyone. Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now suppose I wanted to do one change in this particular program. What I wanted to do, these two functions which I have written public, I want any one of this function also to be written in private section. Any one of this function also to be declared in the private section. So suppose now what I will do, I will just comment this one. Comment means what? I am removing it. Just think that I am removing it and I am putting it over here. Now, will this program get executed? Will it get executed?
No, ma'am.
No. What about the others?
No.
No? Okay, we'll just run and we'll see what error we are getting. What is the error that we are getting?
It is
Void
private.
sample get data is private within this context. So for what we are getting an error? For which statement? For which line we are getting an error? Okay.
Get data, void get data.
So here line number is actually specified, but you can tell me without looking into that. You should tell me for which line it should give an error. So the first thing is the first error it will give it for this line. Can you see this line? S dot get data. It should give the error for this line. Why? Because get data, since get data is private, you cannot call the private functions of your class. Okay? You cannot call them outside the class. Okay? So this will give you an error. After that, even this void get data which you have defined it outside the class, even this will give you an error. Because since it is private, you cannot define it outside the class. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So then what will be the solution? If this is the case, like suppose for certain things, I want a certain data to be taken as private and certain data I want can be a public. So how will I get a solution for this kind of a problem? So what I can do in that case, see, if suppose my function is private, first thing is I cannot write this statement. So this whole thing I will be deleting. So what I can do then, if your function, if a particular what you can say, if a particular function you wanted to make it private, so then for that function what you can do, instead of declaring it, I will simply write the body of this function over here itself. Okay, I will, and here then I will ask the user to enter the value of m. And I will take that value. Okay, will this solve your problem? Will this solve your problem? If I'll still run, I will still get an error. If I'll run the program, still I'll get an error. Now for what statement you are getting an error? S dot get data. Now why we are getting this error? Because we cannot call it like this, right? We cannot call that function outside the class. So this statement has to be removed. Then where we can call it? Okay, if suppose any private function, if you wanted to get it executed, I hope all of you are understanding, students. If you want any of the private function to get it executed from your main function, that function should be called in another public function of your class. See, means what happens now? अभी get data हमने यहाँ पे define किया. What get data has to do, that you have written over here, right? And then you have one put data method. But what is the problem when you are executing your program, when your object gets created, we cannot call that function using the object. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So then what we should do? We can call put data. Put data हम लोग call कर सकते हैं with object.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then what you can do, if you want that get data to be executed, you call it inside another public function of your class. So without the object. So now here, यहाँ पे मुझे कोई object नहीं है. So but I can call the functions like this. C में तुम लोग ऐसे ही functions call करते हो directly by writing a function name and then open close bracket and semicolon. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you can do, if any private function if you have in your class and if you want that to get executed, then that function you can call it inside the another public function of the same class. So we have one more public function, that is put data. So what we can do inside this put data, first we will call this get data, and then we will call the and then this put data function will get executed. So here I will write now if I'll execute it, see my error got solved. Enter the value of n, whatever the value I will enter, it will get printed. Sorry, slash and I have written wrong. Understood, students? Understood how you will use the private functions in your program? This is this type of a program you have for your practical number 1. So I hope all of you are clear with this particular concept.
Yes.
Okay, now another important concept I will teach you. Just a minute. Now another important concept is how the memory gets allocated for your objects. Okay. Now, just understand how the memory is actually getting allocated. What happens? See, now this S is an object of your class. Object मतलब क्या वो एक variable ही है. कौन सा variable है? User defined variable है. Why? Because it is a variable of this class, and class is your user defined. Yes or no? Yes or no, students? Okay. So now what we are understanding? We are understanding how the memory gets allocated for objects. So memory space for your object is allocated when they are declared and not when the class is specified. Are you getting? See, abhi what happens when your object is getting created? In the main only your object gets created. Is it getting created in the class? Is it getting created in the class?
No,
Are you
ma'am.
creating object in the class? No. So that's why memory also will get allocated to your object only when they are declared. It will not get allocated when the class gets created. No, it will get allocated when they are declared. And where they are getting declared? They are getting declared in main. So as soon as you will compile your program, the first statement that gets executed is what? Your object gets created. Okay. Now, what happens? After that, what happens? Now, once your object gets created, actually, then what you have member functions. After that, you are calling with that object, you are calling your member functions. So this member functions are created and they are also placed in the memory space. Now, when they will be placed in the memory space, when they are defined as part of the class specification. Okay. Now, since all the objects belonging to that particular class use the same member function, so there will not be any separate space allocated for the member functions when the objects are created. Are you getting? Like suppose now यहाँ पे in this program we have only one object. S करके एक ही object है. Like suppose now I am creating one more object, S1 and S2. What we have? We have two objects now. Yes, students. Yes, students.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now with S1, I will call the put data, and again with S2, I will again call the put data. So what will happen? तुम्हारा program execution कैसे होगा? First of all, these two objects will get created in the memory. Then with S1 dot put data, you're calling this put data method. You're calling this put data method. So it will check whether put data is a member of a class. Yes, put data is a member of the class. Then it will come inside this put data. When it will come inside the put data, what is happening? You're calling get data. So then the control will go back to the get data method. So it will go inside the class and it will execute the get data function first. So it will ask you to enter the value of m, and then the value will be taken from you, right? Now once these statements get executed, again it will come back to where? It will come back to put data, and whatever the remaining statements of put data you have, that will get printed. Yes or no? Right? This will be done for this S1 object. Again, after that, once you have completed with get data, put data, both the methods, now what is happening? You're calling, again you're calling put data method with this S2 object. So S1 and S2 are two different objects. So उसके लिए क्या होगा? दो separate memory space create किए जाएंगे for S1 and S2. You will have two separate memory blocks for S1 and S2. Are you getting?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what it says now, for both these objects, your functions are same. Put data is the only one function you have. Put data and get data, these both the functions are same for your these two objects. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Now since all the objects belongs to the class, which use the same member functions. So we don't need any separate space allocated for member functions when these objects are created. Okay. So only space for member variable is allocated separately. Member variable क्या है अभी तुम्हारा ये program में? Which is your member variable? Which is the member variable of the class, students?
M.
M, yes. See, always remember that जो भी variable हम लोग class के अंदर declare करते हैं उसको हम लोग क्या कहेंगे? We will call it as member variable. And whatever the functions you are writing, defining or declaring it inside the class, that we will call it as member functions. So what they are saying, whenever your object gets created, a memory space will be created for each one of the objects, right? And since both the objects are accessing the same functions, so there will not be a separate memory allocated for that function. So object 1 कैसे रहेगा? Member function 1 and member function 2 रहेगा, right? But both of them will be referring to the common objects of your class. Okay, but when you are talking about this member variables, a separate memory space will be created for this member variables. मतलब when you are calling s1.putData, s1.putData is accessing this n, right? तभी हमारा m का value different है. Like if suppose now I will execute this one, see what happens now. It is asking me to enter the value of m. So I will enter the value suppose as 10. Okay. Now what happens? Now this value of 10 is getting displayed, value of 10, and again it is asking you to enter the value of m. Now suppose I am entering 20. Now this value I am entering it as 20. And if I'll press enter, now I am getting value of m as 20. Means what is happening, students? My m value is 2 times I am changing, means my m value is getting updated. Yes or no? First time m value is 10 when I am calling this m value with s1 object. Second time my m value is 20 when I am calling this put data with s2. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So first object will create a separate memory space for your member variable, and second object will again create a separate memory space for your member variable. So two separate space will be created for the same variable in your object. Clear now?
Ma'am, what is the benefit of giving two objects to similar class?
See, like now in this program, there is no use of two different objects, but later on we will see, like you need, like suppose if suppose we are talking about a student, now every student will have a different data, right? Suppose now I have created one, created one application where I want every student to enter his name and roll number. I want the student should enter his name and roll number by himself, right? तो मेरा प्रोग्राम में मैं क्या करेगी, आई कुड हैव रिटन ओनली दैट स्टेटमेंट विच विल जस्ट एक्सेप्ट द नेम एंड रोल नंबर ऑफ द स्टूडेंट. So you will enter only your name and roll number. You will not enter someone else. Someone else will enter his own name and roll number, right? So then in that case, I have to create different objects to take the data of different person. Are you getting? I'm just
Yes,
giving you
ma'am.
the example as only name and roll number, but I may have so many other details. Like suppose Abhi, based on his details, I wanted to calculate his percentage, or I wanted to calculate his marks. So for that I need a different data. So I may have a different functions for that. So depending upon what kind of a data you have, that many type of objects you require. अभी ये simple छोटा सा example है, इसके लिए we don't require actually 2 objects, but then I'm just giving you the example how different objects are created. Like it is similar like you are writing int a comma b comma c comma d. Why we are creating these many variables of integer type? Because somewhere we are using it in our program. Similarly, when you are creating objects, that objects will be needed somewhere in your program. That's why you create those many objects. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So just remember that whenever you have a member functions के लिए, since they will be common to all the objects, that's why there will not be a separate memory space created for member functions, but member variables के लिए separate space create होगा. So for each object, a separate space will be created for member variable. So separate memory locations for the objects are very much important. Because why? Because the member variables will hold what? Different data. So you can see it here. When I'm referring to this object S1, my M variable holds the value 10. But when I'm referring to S2, that time my M variable holds the value 20. Okay? Clear everyone with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, today we will stop here then. In the next lecture, we will see the static variables and functions. Okay, as you are having break, and I think you must be having a next lecture. Do you have a next lecture? Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so we'll leave here for today then. Thank you, everyone. You can leave.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm going to show the code
Bye.
one more, like up to down.
Yes, yes. Yes, Cap, your voice is breaking.
Ma'am, Abhinav wants the code.
Abhinav said. Just a minute, Abhinav. The code window I've already shared. Just a minute.
Ma'am, it's
So
not
like from up to
visible
down
to
one.
fish.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. You can leave now, people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.